We'll start with the sound of a bell for our meditation. Pausing to let the sound of the bell fade away. Pausing with a momentary mindfulness. Being present, aware, maybe being present with the sound, being present with the thoughts, being present with a global sense of a body sitting or lying down. Pausing to allow an alchemical process to unfold naturally. Arriving here and now. What is the felt sense of arriving for you? Just a feeling, just sensing. Words are not necessary. For me, there is a felt sense of inner slowing down. Some energetic feel of energy settling downwards, or the body resting down and resting back. Arriving here and now. The feeling and sensing is innate capacity within the body, within this very being. We simply become available to allow this being to feel and to sense. being available have a particular felt sense to it. Maybe there is a kind of a deeper relaxation and opening. A sense of an openness in the heart space, in the body, being available feels like this. It's as if my nerve systems can relax. My breath can flow more easily. And the sensations in the body have more room to dance their dance. And the emotions and thoughts have a lot of a space around them. The felt sense of a being available is unique to you at this moment. My words are just some pointers, but your own felt sense is a whole field. Don't let my words or your own limit the whole field of the felt sense. from this field of availability, inviting, aligning with our aspirations, deepest intentions, aligning with our heart's wish to be free, noticing how aligning feels distinctly different from available and arriving. Staying with the felt sense of aligning. I often feel a slight straightening up of my spine as I align, kind of an inner uplift, sense of dignity, a wholesome feeling. Aligning feels like this, right now, here. There may be a felt sense of a grounding or grounded coming in when we feel we're aligned with our deepest intentions. Our hearts can be at ease, maybe even slight happiness. Maybe a kind of a trust. Aligning with the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Aligning with the Noble Eightfold Path. Stay with the felt sense. Our body knows Our heart knows. Sometimes right here, being aligned and available, there can be a sense of collected, composed, and unified. The felt sense of the body can come forth vividly. Sounds become clear, and silence are palpable. From this aligned and available field, open to receive the felt sense in the body and our emotions and the mind. You may choose to stay with the felt sense in the body, or felt sense in the breath. The flow of the breath, movements, vibrations, or simply staying with the aliveness That's right here. Where I am, the sound of pouring rain is very full, vibrant. When we touching the alive, vibrant, receptive field, there can be a kind of a tenderness. It's enlivening. In this last moments of our meditation together, reconnect with the felt sense of being available and aligned. What does it feel like right now? For me, a wave of gratitude come forth. Knowing that we can always return to this ground of being available and aligned. So wonderful to be with you all. It was really nice to sit in the pouring rain. I've just noticed that I'm going to start to lightening up slightly where I am. So today I brought yet another practice skill to share. And this is practicing with felt sense. You've heard me a lot using this phrase this last few days repeatedly. When I first heard this phrase repeatedly on a retreat some years ago that are offered by the teacher Philip Moffitt, and he would use this again and again, at some point I thought to myself, wow, he really meant it. So you've been hearing me saying this phrase again and again, and I'll say that I really mean it, practicing with the felt sense. So why am I emphasizing a lot this practicing with the felt sense? Is based on a recognition. I think many teachers or practitioners would recognize at some point that we often practice mindfulness and practice meditation from a very head-centered orientation. We lead our meditation from concepts, ideas, beliefs that we have. We think we're supposed to be with the breath, and then we just kind of manage and direct somehow from a very conceptual framework. Gil sometimes will use this phrase that, or say this, and that we tend to have a control tower approach in our meditation. And I resonated with that a lot. I know for myself, and the first, probably one of the first major breakthrough of my meditation is to come to awareness that I was really shoehorning my breath into the way that I thought it is supposed to be, using my mind, using my head. And I was doing it so much from this control tower that I was literally suffocating myself. It was not until I recognized that that was happening, and all of a sudden something happened. I realized, oh, this doesn't work. I have to let loose of this control tower approach or practicing from this conceptual framework. So that opened a whole new gradual training, a gradual learning to let loose of this orientation of a practicing. And I think I am not particularly unique. Many people have come to recognition that this was kind of a deeply rooted tendency in us. Philip, in one of his books, spoke about the effect of a practicing or importance of a practicing with a felt sense. And I want to read this little portion here. And so he said, learning to access the felt sense of the larger dimensionality of a body and mind, such that you're able to disengage from deep-seated habits of viewing yourself and the world strictly in concepts. You may not even realize how much of your inner experience, even in meditation, is based on conceptualizing, such that your thinking mind is acting as a filter between your perceived and your actual experience. This is a really deep-rooted force and tendency. We human beings kind of learned this mode of operating from very young. So it's not a mistake that somehow we're operating in this way, even when we come to meditation. And yet there is a cost when we live in the world of concepts and ideas. We want to recognize that the thinking, logics, conceptualization is one aspect of being human. But there is also a broader dimension of being human that is not boxed up only by concepts and ideas. So when we're strictly living through our ideas and beliefs, we can be at odds with our actual experience. And the concepts and ideas can last for a long time, but the actual experiences of what the concepts are pointing to may be changing very rapidly. And so, for example, the idea that I am an angry person, that's an idea. It can last for a long time, maybe for sometimes a lifetime. We kind of identify by that. But in reality, that's not even possible. We can't be angry all the time. That's not possible. And our system is not functioning like that. But we can lock ourselves by the boxes of the ideas. And so that's a form of imprisonment. It's dukkha, opposite of a freedom. And so learning to practice with this felt sense way is a wonderful approach to unwind this kind of a conditioning that we view or relate to the world through conceptual frameworks. And so we're cultivating, practicing with a felt sense, and that allow us to gradually come in harmony with the reality of our experiences, or in the Dharma phrase, or come in harmony with the way things are, rather than trying to shoehorn the reality into the boxes of our ideas. So how do we do that? In our guided meditation, in a way, we're kind of already doing it. We can become available to what's here. And there is a kind of a deep trust in this inner capacity of being human that can feel our way, can sense our way. And this is a kind of a primal capacity in us. Even right now, for example, as we sit here, maybe listening to the words, if you just pause, take a moment to feel and sense what's here, what's happening. For me, I immediately know there is a felt sense, even though I may not necessarily have words for them. I may not be able to describe it right away, but it doesn't trump the reality of feeling something and sensing something. And sometimes the clear recognition can come forth as I'm staying with the felt sense. And so from the perspective of our practice, it's totally okay and valid for us to just feel and sense without the necessities of immediately trying to describe what is happening. And as the recognition comes forth, let it be. Sometimes the recognition can come forth with images, sometimes words, sometimes visuals. And that's all valid. And this form of recognition is a natural emergence, a kind of bubbling up from the depth of our being, from the reality of our experience, instead of a top-down, kind of we're imposing something on our experience. So you can see the difference here, right? And as we practice this way, what can happen is we're dropping out of directing our meditation. We're letting the way things be, letting the way things are to be what it is. And as we drop below a sort of abstract thinking mind, things can get rather simple and direct. We're less caught up by the stories of our experience. A lot of a wanting mind and not wanting mind tends to come from the conceptual stories that we have. And so it's actually more conducive for us to get collected, unified, composed. And another way of saying that is it's conducive to samadhi, or a wealth of inner beauty, like a delight, happiness, and easefulness, tranquility. And as we stay in this territory, what can also happen is our knowing, our awareness can become more clear, because we're less jammed up by the rapid thinking or storytelling. And so as we stay in this felt sense, things become more and more clear. We can allow more intuitive kind of knowing to surface, to bubble up. And so in this way, felt sense is also conducive to insights, more intuitive kind of a knowing. And so my invitation for the rest of the day is, if you wish, maybe exploring, feeling and sensing the way that you're going about your life. And without necessarily making the conceptualizing and cognizing a problem, we're simply recognizing that we're opening to a broader perspective of being human and allow all of those dimensions to come alive. And so may you open to all these different dimensions of being human. And so thank you for your attention. May our practice benefit ourselves and benefit the whole world.